Okay, on the next one, we can see that we have a sodium here, a sodium there. This is the polyatomic sulfate and a sulfate here. So what are we missing? We are missing some H's and some O's. H's and O's. So if we look at our choices here, we're not missing any sodiums. We are missing O's, but we are missing O's and H's, so this must be our answer, H2O. So I'm going to write H2O here. You should be able to balance the equation and tell me the type of reaction. Now, just a little side hint here. Sometimes it's easier to balance it if you write it like this instead of like this, the H2O. So this might be easier to balance. Now, the next one is C2H4 with an oxygen. So you have C's, H's, and O's. That's a Cho equation. So we have two empty spots, and if you look at your answer choices, it says you should know this, check your notes. So I'm going to give you a second to look back in your notes and find where we talked about Cho equations. Cho equations always have the same two products, always. So I would pause here, flip back, and see if you can figure it out. And when you're ready, come back and see if we agree. If you found out, Cho equations always have carbon dioxide and water as their product. It doesn't matter what order they're in as long as they're both there. Then you're going to balance the equation and tell me the type of reaction. Okay, so for this next one, I'm going to start you off here and you're going to finish it off. So here we have a silver, and polyatomic nitrate and a nitrate. So what is left over? We're missing an aluminum and we're missing a sulfate. So if we look at our answer choices here, it's not this one. So it's a choice between this or this. Now, how do we know which one it is? Now, reminder, we know that aluminum has a +3 charge and sulfate has a -2 charge. So, how many of each do I need so that these charges cancel out? So look at these charges, look at these two compounds, and determine which one should go in the missing box and put it here. Now, let me just say that if you choose the wrong one, it will be really hard to balance. So that will give you a hint of whether you chose the right one or not. So go ahead and fill out the rest of the page and check your answers with the teacher when you are done. Okay, last thing is to learn how to write chemical reactions from scratch. So here all we have are just words, and we have to transfer those words into formulas, balance it, and identify which type. So it's a lot of things putting it all together. So for example, here's hydrogen. So I'm going to draw a line because we have to balance it later, and I'm going to write hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is special. Why? Because it's part of the Brinkelhoff pact that we talked about earlier. Bromine, iodine, nitrogen, chlorine, hydrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. Brinkelhoff. These 7 elements always come in pairs. So this hydrogen can't be an H by itself. It must come in a pair, like so. Then you're going to put a plus and draw another line. Chlorine is also a special one because it's also part of Brinkelhoff. It needs to have a little 2 here. Arrow. And now hydrogen chloride. Here's a compound. So if we look at our periodic table, hydrogen +1, chlorine -1. So if I have a +1 and a -1, how many of each do I need? I just need 1 of each, like this. After you do this, you would then balance the equation. So I put a 2 here, it would be balanced. Then I'm going to determine what type. Here's one small thing, make one big thing. That is a synthesis reaction. Okay, so another example and then some hints. All right, so the next one starts with chlorine. So I'm going to draw a line and write chlorine. It's part of Brinkelhoff, so it does come in a pair, plus aluminum iodide. So we got to look at our periodic table here. Aluminum is +3, iodine is -1. So looking back here, I'm going to write +3 -1. So how many of each do I need so that the charges cancel out? For every 1 aluminum, I need 3 iodines. Okay, same thing here, aluminum chloride. So aluminum is still +3, chlorine is -1. So going back and put +3 -1, looks very similar. So for every 1 aluminum, I need 3 chlorines to cancel out my charges. Plus iodine is part of Brinkelhoff, so I need a 2. You should be able to balance this equation and tell me the type. Next, number 3. I'm going to start you off and have you finish it. Here is iron. Is iron part of Brinkelhoff? No, it is not. And because it's not, it can sit all by itself. Okay, second hint. Remember, when you see this Roman numeral, it's always a positive number. And the Roman numeral 3 tells you how many electrons it lost. Oxide is oxygen. So if you look at the oxygen right here, you'll see that it is -2. So here are the charges, and you can determine how many of each you need. So I would fill out the rest of this page and then get it checked by the teacher.